Hey, are you someone who likes to have a lot of impact with your work and have a great quality of life, the good life as we call it? And are you also someone who has this little voice in your head that says, I wish there was more. I feel that I'm not living up to my full potential. I can have a bigger positive impact with my work or in my community. I'd like to have more free time to enjoy with my family and friends. Maybe I want to have more income so that I can do more of the things that I like to do or help more people. Have you got that little voice that tells you, that whispers in your ear, like, is this all there is? Are you living up to your full potential or not really? So if you're a business owner or a corporate leader, or you want to become one, or maybe you're a coach working with business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, managers, then this may be interesting for you. I'm like that. I'm a person who is enjoying my life, but I've always got a little voice that says, I think there's more. I want to explore what other options I have, how I can further develop my potential, how I can grow and have a bigger impact and leave a legacy. So if that speaks to you, then you may want to look at this presentation. So I'm going to share a presentation with you now. And I can tell you it has taken me years of research and painful experience to figure this thing out. And I think I found the answer. So we're going to talk about the 3 obstacles to getting to the next level in your business and life and how to overcome those obstacles forever. So part 1, the hierarchy of competence. So as adults, we learn differently from children. If small children, if they need to learn something, for instance, ride a bicycle or learning to walk if they're even younger, or maybe speak or play a musical instrument, learning to play football, then they just do it. They just try, and if they fail, they fall, they get back up, and they dust themselves off and they do it. But as adults, it works differently. And why is that? Well, that's because as adults, we are conscious. We are very self-conscious about the whole process of learning. And children are not. Children just do it. They don't ask themselves, hey, I tried to ride this bicycle. It didn't work. Maybe I'll never learn it. No, they just get up and try again if they fail. But as adults, we are very self-conscious. So we go through this process called hierarchy of competence. And I'm talking especially about learning a new skill. So if you want to learn a new skill, and it can be driving a car, assume you have your driver's license, well, you still remember how painful it was to learn to drive that car. Maybe it's learning a new language. Maybe it's learning how to present in public. There's lots of different things, especially when it comes to learning skills, where we go through 4 phases of learning. And it's really helpful to know how this works, because then you can also much better overcome the obstacles. So I'm going to discuss the 4 levels of competency and then show you the main obstacles, the 3 obstacles to getting everything you want and going to the next level in your business and your life. So it's about forming new habits. It's about the process of mastery. I call it the art of mastering life and business. So what are the 4 stages? Well, the first stage we call unconscious incompetence. So this is where you are not really conscious of the fact that you are incompetent. And of course, incompetent is all relative, right? You're incompetent relative to where you need to be. And the idea here is that if you want to improve a certain area of your life, whether it's your health, maybe it's the quality of your relationships, it can be financially, and maybe you want to make a promotion in your organization, you want to become a leader of a team instead of an individual contributor, maybe you want to start to run a big division, or you want to build your own business, maybe you are a coach. These are all learnable skills. In fact, most of the things that we do as adults can be learned, right? yes, there's talent, there's nature and nurture, but there's not many areas where talent makes the biggest difference. I believe, I mean, we just had the World Championship in athletics. I think that's where, if you're a runner, a long distance runner, I think that's where length matters, or in some other sports. But in most other areas, most skills can be learned. So the first level is unconscious incompetence. You don't know what you don't know, right? Then the next level is conscious incompetence, and I'll get more in detail, but first I'm going to discuss the 4 levels. Conscious incompetence is this area, this painful situation where in fact you are now conscious of the fact that you're not that good, right? So you, in the first level, you had some beginner's luck. Let's say you want to learn to ski, or maybe skateboard, or go golf surfing. If you've ever done that, then in the beginning, you make some fast progress. Also with learning a new language, you pick up a few words, and now you can go order some groceries in the marketplace when you're on vacation. And you feel like, hey, this is not so difficult. I master this new language. But if you then try to make a more complicated, more sophisticated conversation, then it becomes really difficult. The third level is conscious competence. So this is where you actually are starting slowly to get better. With practice, with focus, you get better and better. And then the next level up is called unconscious competence. Now you are a master. It becomes automatic. Take the analogy with driving. Now you can drive your car and look on your phone. Don't do that, but you could. You can look at the navigation system. You can switch the channel on the radio. That's what you can have a conversation with the passenger. That's what you can do if you have become unconsciously competent at driving your car. So now you have reached this level of mastery. You have now acquired a new habit. And some people say, well, it takes 21 days. Others say it takes 67 days. And in my experience working with my clients, and I've been coaching clients for over 12 years now, and before that, I've been for 20 years in the corporate world, working in lots of different companies. And I've also been an entrepreneur. And 21 days is short, 67 days, 2 months is short. It can take a year and a half, or even longer to attain that level of mastery, so that you have formed new habits and you come to a level of unconscious incompetence. It has become automatic. Now, let's now consider our level of self-confidence, because that varies as you go through the stages. And I already touched upon that a little bit. At the first level, you have high self-confidence. You tell yourself, well, this is easy. Why? Well, you don't know everything yet there is to know about this new craft. And you have some beginner's luck. Again, I don't know if you are into downhill skiing. I like to use that example, but even with a car, let's say under ideal circumstances, so there's no other traffic, and you are on the road, there's no fog, it's clear, it's a wide road, you can easily, you can hit the gas and release the brake, and you can drive. Well, and it feels like, hey, that's not difficult. And you can turn your wheel, and your car turns, you get a little bit of a feel for it. Learning to ski, same thing. When you go do that, they put you on a very easy slope, a blue slope, and the snow conditions are good, not many people around you, and you take this pizza position, and you just go. It feels really easy. But if you are an experienced skier, you know that as the conditions change and become more difficult, then it requires much more skill to actually be able to do this. So this first level is, hey, this is easy. I can do that. So you have high confidence, right? But as you progress to level 2, where you are at the level of conscious incompetence, then your self-confidence really gets a hit. It becomes really low, very low. In fact, you have a wake-up call and you say, well, this is much harder than I thought. And that's painful. And that is actually where most people quit. So the good news is here you get asked the question, how important is learning this new skill for me? Is it really that important? Well, you can decide to keep going at it. Or if you come to the conclusion, well, it's not that important, there's other things that are more important to me, well, then you can quit, as most people do. But if you continue, well, as you progress, it becomes less and less crowded. As they say, on the road to mastery, it's not very busy, right? So that's the good news. And then if you go to the next level, we have a varying level of self-confidence. So you have a few successes, a few wins, and then you feel great. And then you have some setbacks. It's in fact a little bit more difficult than you thought. And now your self-confidence level drops again. Very insecure and stuff. It takes a lot of energy. You're getting frustrated. You feel clunky. But you are making progress. And you become a little bit more aware that you're making progress. And that actually helps to keep you going. And then at the fourth level, a level of mastery, where you are forming new habits, that's actually where the level of self-confidence keeps growing and growing and growing, right? So you go from low to high, and it's less and less fluctuating. It just grows slowly. With every success, with every win, you feel you're more in control now. Okay, it's becoming second nature. So that's part number one. That's a hierarchy of competence, and it's really important to understand this as adults, to understand how this process works. And if you get to recognize where you are in these various stages, then it's much more easy to just stick at it. So if learning this new skill is important enough for you, whether you want to become a people manager, you want to become a business owner, you want to become a successful coach, you want to become good at learning a new language, learning a new sport, learning to play a musical instrument, but even becoming a good spouse or a good parent, understand that this is the process that you will go through. And then you can check with yourself, you can check your level of confidence, and you can try to assess, well, where am I in this process? And then you can see that you're making progress, and that keeps you motivated to keep going. Hope this is clear. So let's now look at part two, the 3 obstacles to getting what you want and how to overcome those obstacles. And we're going to use the same model of 4 levels of competence. And now we're going to add the main obstacles to go from one level to the next, because that's what the obstacles are about. Now, the first obstacle is a lack of clarity. Okay, so if we want to make progress from the first level of unconscious incompetence, where we're being ignorant, and we have this high level of self-confidence, that's when we want to make progress to the next level, we need clarity. We need to be clear about where we are and where we want to go, about what's going on. What are the patterns of thought and feelings and actions that we keep repeating over and over again unconsciously that keep us at our current level? And the reason why it's so difficult to get the clarity at first is because we are overconfident. For overconfidence, we are in a high. And when our emotions are high, our intelligence is low. And it doesn't matter whether we have negative emotions or positive emotions, like in this case, we're very excited, very, over the moon, but then we cannot think clearly anymore. So we need to learn to calm our mind, to quiet the mind, to quiet the voices inside our head, and just relax and let the fog clear and see what we are doing for real, right? And one way to do that is to ask help from other people. And it can be painful if you ask other people for input or for feedback on, well, how am I actually performing? Whether it's a teacher, for your driver's license, or your skiing practice, or your music lessons, or at work, it's more difficult as you make progress, whether you are a manager or a leader, the higher up the rank you go, the more difficult it is to get honest feedback, because people may be afraid that you will be using their feedback against them, because you may become defensive. And if you're an entrepreneur, if you're working for yourself or a coach, it's also difficult to get feedback. Yeah, maybe your clients say, yeah, I'm very happy. But to get candid, honest feedback from other people, that's really, really difficult, but it's important. And we don't always want to hear what we need to hear. So in fact, what we need to gain that clarity is awareness. And that's the first thing. We need to become aware of our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. We need to start to see the patterns. We need to be able to connect the dots so that we then can get clarity about, hey, what's going on? Where am I? Where do I want to go? And you need to learn, and I'll get into this in much more detail in the next video, but this one here is more to give you a broad overview of the whole process and the key obstacles. And I'll get in another video more into detail about how you can do that. But to give you a first quick, let's say, quick entry point into becoming more aware, it's to breathe, right? Yeah, and of course we breathe all the time, unconsciously. But what really happens, and there's a lot of teachings on this stuff here, is some conscious deep breaths, right? So make some repetitive breaths for 1 or 2 minutes. And if you do that and be mindful of those breaths, focus on that, and that way you can quiet your mind. You can calm your mind. All the voices in your head, all the chatter that goes on in a dialogue, that starts to calm down and quiet. But mindful self-awareness is a good entry point for gaining clarity. And it's not easy, because if you progress to level 2, you become conscious of your incompetence. And this, I think, is the most difficult transition, because most people will be in denial. They say, well, it's not true. They become defensive. They say, that's not me. You don't, you get it. You're not, you're exaggerating. But in fact, if you look carefully at the patterns that keep recreating your current life situation, you ask input from other people, then you will gradually get to see, the things for what they really are. And it's embarrassing, you may, there's lots of emotions that may come up here, emotions of frustration, anger, resentment, guilt, shame, anxiety, fear. So it's difficult, but it really is the way to do it. It's the only way. And if you can learn to observe those emotions, so not only your thoughts, but also the emotions that come up, feelings, then without identifying with them, that's a good way to calm the mind, to clear the fog, and to actually have a much clearer view on where you are. What are the patterns that are running your life on autopilot? Where do you want to go without falling into this level of anxiety and fear and frustration and become unconscious again? So then the next obstacle is the obstacle that we need to overcome when we want to graduate from level 2 to level 3, right? So remember, we're still low in self-confidence, and we're very conscious of our incompetence, but we have this inner drive, this calling, whether it's this short, let's say a silent or a quiet voice whispering in our ear to say, hey, come on, you can do more, you can grow, you can grow, you've got so much untapped potential, just go for it, just do it. Or the thing that says, no, don't do it, just stay where you are, your life is good, why bother, why should I ask for more? Well, that situation, that's where you're in. What you need is focus, right? Why? Because, well, if you're learning a new skill, that's difficult enough as adults. Now, if you want to change too many things at the same time, it's impossible. At least it reduces dramatically the likelihood that you'll actually be able to make significant improvements. Why? Because, well, every new skill that you add on to the projects that you're running in parallel, it's asking for more attention and is working on your emotions and your emotional bank account even more. So pick one life area that you want to improve, whether it's your health habits, whether it's your building better relationships with your spouse or others, whether it's becoming a better leader, whether it's becoming maybe better at sales and have a conversation with customers, whether it's better at coaching your clients. Pick one element and then focus on that for the next 3 months or so until you get to a level where you have reached a level of competence that you're looking for. Then you can add a new skill. And now, why is focus so difficult? And again, I have been studying this for a very long time, and I've had to learn this through painful experience myself, because I'm somebody with a lot of areas of interest. I really want to. If it's up to me, I would pursue everything I can think of in parallel at the same time. I'm so enthusiastic. I'm so interested in many different areas in life, but it doesn't work that way. It's a better strategy to say, let's pick one, focus, and then add another one. As the acronym FOCUS sometimes being used, finish one course until successful. Focus, finish one course until successful. It's a much better strategy. Take the analogy as if you are, let's say, shoveling snow, right? If you have a very wide shovel and you want to shovel a lot of snow, I don't know whether you live in an area where there is snow, but just imagine you have to move stuff. Well, with a wide shovel, it's very difficult. You have a narrow one, it's much easier to create a path through it and to move, actually, to make progress. Now, again, why is focus so difficult? Because focus involves saying no. And that's a skill that is probably one of the number one skills and one of the number one predictors of success. Whether you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, a coach, a manager, it doesn't matter. The ability to say no with confidence is extremely important, and to say yes to what you want to say yes to. And why is it so difficult to say no? Because we feel bad. Whenever we say no, at least I've been suffering from that a lot. I'm not sure about you, but saying no without feeling bad has been something that's been really difficult for me. And also when people said no to me, I took it personally. I felt like, oh, they're rejecting me as a person. Of course, that's not true. But that's how many of us have been raised, Saying no can be something. Let's say you're very spontaneous. You have a great idea. You're asking somebody to join you to go somewhere. You take an initiative, and people say no. Well, you may feel rejected. And I'll get into this in much more detail, because this is a major piece of my research. And in fact, this was a major area of breakthrough for me to understand the psychology of saying no and the psychology of rejection. And again, I'll touch upon it very quickly. But if you feel bad every time you say no, then what happens is you get an accumulation of negative emotions in your emotional bank account. And that creates a force that works against you. It becomes heavier and heavier load, as if there's gravity pulling you down. So you need to learn to overcome this pleasing behavior. And I'm stressing this point. Maybe I'm overstressing it. Maybe it's not an issue for you, good for you, but it has been for me. And many of my clients have been struggling with this as well. So in fact, what we need to do, we need to assume full responsibility for everything in our life. We need to take full responsibility for everything in our life as if we chose it, right? Now, of course, you didn't choose all the circumstances, situations, and events that happen in your life or that appear in your life. Of course, if you fall ill, if you are being fired from your job, if somebody that's dear to you dies, you didn't choose that. Of course not. But what you can do is you can approach every circumstance, situation, or event as if you chose it. Why? Because then you're not a victim anymore of that circumstance, that situation, that external thing. you can say, I assume full responsibility, which means I'm able to respond. Responsibility means I'm able to respond. So I cannot change the situation, but I can choose my response to the situation. And that's how I can get a sense of control over my life. Because let's face it, I mean, there's not many things we can really control in life, can we? Yeah, I mean, we cannot control the behavior of our children, of our colleagues, of our spouse, right? We cannot fully control whether we get an illness or not. I mean, all of us die eventually, and it's hard to predict what's going to happen. We cannot predict or control how other people will behave in traffic. What we can control is our response to those circumstances, situations, and events by being response able. And so what we need to learn is to make choices and say no without feeling bad. Now, again, I'll get much more into this topic in more detail in another video, because this video is more giving you a broad overview of the main obstacles to getting what you want. But this is the key one. Now, and if you're able to do that, to focus, then you can get to the level of conscious competence. Why? Because you have said, okay, you know, this is what I'm going to say no to. I'm going to, let's say, resist the distraction, the seduction of being distracted, of doing lots of other things, of inaction. No, this is what I'm going to focus on. That's my goal. And these are the steps that I'm going to take. And that means that I have to say no to lots of other things. And if I can do that without feeling bad, then actually that opens the door to making step by step progress and start to celebrate those wins. So what's the third obstacle? It's the lack of momentum. Now, if you think about it, I don't know about you, but growth is exponential, and I'll talk about it in the next slide. Is not linear, and which means that in the beginning, when we start something new, yeah, we start to practice the new skiing technique, we start to practice a new language, a musical instrument, we start to practice leading people and delegating, we start to practice having a heart-to-heart conversation with our spouse or our children. Then in the beginning, it's really difficult. But as we have already gotten now to this situation of becoming consciously competent, we see that we are having small successes because we got awareness, clarity. So we see the patterns. We can see when we fall back into old behavior and are being run unconsciously by the automatic habits and by our emotions. We overreact. We can now see when we fall into that trap and then catch ourselves before we respond on autopilot and regret whatever we said or did later. We're able to focus, so we have been able to pick one area that we want to improve and that we want to work on for the next period. And we are able to say no without feeling bad, which means that we don't accumulate all that negative energy that starts to pull us down in making our progress. We are lighter, we feel positive, we feel happy, we feel relaxed, and now we can also start to see the small successes, the little wins. Then we can start to celebrate those. And that builds momentum, because we need to understand that initially, whenever we start to adapt our behavior towards new and better outcomes, that at first we won't see much change, much progress, much difference. We have to make small steps, because another big problem, one of the things that I've been struggling with myself, is that we can spend all the time in our heads trying to come up with the best strategy, the best steps, the best action plan, and then make a huge leap to go from where we are to where we want to be, and then immediately become that very successful, or that perfect husband, or wife, or the perfect leader, or have a very successful business, or become fluent in this language or at that skill. And of course, you know that it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. We have to accept the fact that, I mean, some people call it the 10,000 hour rule, we have to practice this new skill for 10,000 hours before it becomes second nature, before it becomes a habit. So if we understand that, and it's the waiting game, it's the game where we are actually putting in lots of effort and we see very little progress at first. And that's a point, another area where most people tend to quit. You know, it's difficult, it's painful. So we can easily get distracted. We can say, okay, you know what, I'll do it tomorrow. Or we start to doubt ourselves. Is it possible for me? Can I do it? Do I have the discipline? Do I have what it takes? Or we start to get into denial. Is it really that important? You know, my life's okay. And then we give up on our dream. But, you know, they've interviewed 100-year-old people who were near to their death, to the end of their life here on earth. And they were asking those people like, hey, would you have any advice for your younger self? You could redo or do your life over again. And they say, well, you know, spend most of your time with the people that you love, that are most important to you. Take care of your health. You know, put yourself first when it comes to health habits, and so that you have maximum energy and autonomy. And number 3, follow your dream, pursue your dream, respond to that little voice or that soft calling in your head that says, hey, there is more. I can have a bigger life. I can have more impact. I can have a better quality of life, better relationships, be in better shape. And that's their advice. So please don't give up on your dream. Don't quit. It's difficult. But if you know how the process works, you can build momentum step by step by step. So that's the third obstacle. And what you need to be able to build that momentum is trust. You need to trust the process. And if you know how the process works, that if you are aware, if you're conscious about what's going on inside, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, if you can observe yourself from a distance as if you're, you know, like in the audience, you're watching a match, a game, and you are in the game, you're playing the game, and another part of you is watching you play. You can see what's going on, you see the patterns. You're able to focus because you take full responsibility for everything in your life as if you chose it. You have learned to say no without feeling bad. And now you have embarked on a path of taking small incremental steps, and you build towards that one goal. And then the momentum starts building. Then you will be mastering that new skill, that new craft, faster than you would have ever imagined. We tend to overestimate what we can achieve in the short term and underestimate what we can achieve in the long run. Give yourself time. Don't put arbitrary deadlines on yourself. Give yourself time, because it's worth becoming a master at the skills that you really want to be good at, the things that matter to you. Whether it's your relationships, your work, whether it's your health, hobbies, it doesn't matter. Now, so those are the 3 main obstacles. Now, there are 2 characters that you meet on your life journey, because I like to look at life as a game, as a journey, right? And obviously it's your life, right? So, but there's another character. Now, the first character, it's you. I call it the hero. You are the hero of your own life, of your own life story. And the hero refers to your higher self, the one with a full unlimited potential, who has desires and aspirations and huge untapped potential. In fact, research shows that most of us are utilizing only about 10 to 15% of our maximum potential. Even people like Einstein, I think he was at maybe 13, 14%. So we all have untapped potential. It's up to you to decide, well, do you want to do something with that, or do you just want to live a mediocre life? Do you want to settle for good instead of going for great? Well, I can highly recommend you to go for a great life, to keep learning, to keep growing. So the first character on your life journey is your higher self, is the hero in you who already has everything it takes to be able to live life to the fullest. And the second character is the antagonist, the villain, the adversary, if you will, called the ego mind. And the ego mind keeps challenging you, the hero. It's your lower self, your shadow. Now, if you want to know more about how the ego mind does that, well, I recommend you to look at my other video on the power of transformational coaching. And there I talk about coping mechanisms and the ego and everything in more detail. So you'll be able to find a link somewhere near this video, or otherwise somewhere else I'll point you to that place. But those are the 5 characters. Now, if you look at those 5 words, hero, ego, awareness, responsibility, and trust, then they form a word, right? And they form the word heart. Hero, ego, and then there's the art of mastering business and life, the art of transformational change. And it's a fantastic process. If you understand how this works, you will be able to much more easily make the major transformations and minor transformations that you would like to make, transforming your health for the better, transforming your relationships, both personal and professional, transforming your career, transforming whatever area that you want to get better at. That's the process. So that's where you see the link between the hierarchy of competence and the heart of transformational change. You need to learn to know and accept yourself for who you really are. So in summary, connecting with your heart is a secret to transforming your business and life. You need to learn to know and accept yourself for who you really are. Only when you know and accept yourself for who you really are will you be able to gain clarity about where you are and where you want to be. And you will be able to focus without feeling bad and build momentum, understand the waiting game, so that you will get to the level of life and work that you want to be. And you can realize your dreams. And you will feel confident to ask for help when needed, because you deserve happiness and success in your life. Now, this thing, and you may say, well, it makes total sense that we need to connect with our heart. But it took me years of research and painful experience, because I'm a rational person, and there's lots of people, especially in the human development area and in New Age and in coaching, where we say, well, you just have to, and in spirituality, you just have to connect with your heart, listen to your heart, and everything will be fine. And well, while that's true, for me, it wasn't enough to just believe that, to say, okay, fine, I get it, I'll do that, I'll give love to everyone, and everything will be fine. I'm an engineer, so I just needed to figure it out for myself. And to be honest, it has cost me dearly in terms of years and years and years of trial and error and research. And I think I found it. So we cannot outsmart our own ego. That's number one. Why? Because our ego is as intelligent and creative as we are. Because the ego comes from the same place as our hero self. So the ego, the way I like to look at my ego, at the ego, is as a worthy opponent. See the ego as a challenger who challenges you, the hero, to be your best self, to step up your game, rather than somebody who pulls you down, who keeps you where you are. And again, watch my other video on transformational change and transformational coaching and coping mechanisms to understand what the trickery, the box of tricks the ego uses to actually keep you believing that you're making real progress, but you're not. You're playing the ego game, and it isn't getting you anywhere closer, but you're very busy You feel that you're making lots of progress, but you're not. You're just unconscious. And you keep recreating your current life situation while thinking that you're making progress. And I want that for you to change. I want for you to get out of that rat race, out of that hamster wheel, where the ego keeps chasing you and you keep being reactive and responsive to the ego rather than shifting your game to a whole new game, the game of life, where you will be able to develop and unlock your full potential across all key areas of your life, your health, your relationship, your financial situation, your work and contribution, and your hobbies, your full self-expression. So when we understand that, then we can learn to accept ourselves for who we are. You are already perfect the way you are. You as a higher self, you as your hero. You've got everything it takes to make those steps, to take those actions, to master the skill of life and business. But your ego tries to talk you out of it, tries to distract you, say, oh, just wait, to help you to ease the pain and the suffering. It tells you, well, why don't you do it tomorrow? Tomorrow is fine. Are you sure you have what it takes? Am I not too old, too young? Am I maybe not intelligent enough? Maybe I'm too smart. Maybe you're not beautiful and attractive enough, or maybe you're too attractive. Whatever it is. When I attain that, then I will be happy. It's not that, it doesn't work that way. So we need to learn to accept ourselves for who we really are. And the way to do that is with being compassionate. First, for ourselves. We need to learn the skill and attitude and practice of being mindfully self-compassionate. Now, I'll get to that in more detail in another video as well, because otherwise this one gets way too long. But mindful self-compassion, to love yourself unconditionally, is the entry point to unlocking those and resolving those 3 obstacles. Okay? So that's part number 2. And now the final part, number 3. Let me discuss briefly the power of compounding. Now, if you go online, you see a lot on the social media, you see lots of advertising about getting rich quick, losing 20 pounds overnight, restoring the quality of your relationship with your loved ones and your colleagues, becoming the leader that you aspire to be. It doesn't work that way. Every overnight success has taken a long time to materialize. Is it possible? Of course. Is it possible for you? Absolutely. But as I said before, it generally takes much longer than we think. But we make much more progress in the long run than we think too. So, as I said, we tend to overestimate what we can achieve in the short term and underestimate what we can achieve in the long run. Okay. So what's the power of compounding and continuous improvement? If you improve your life with 1% every day, then after 1 year, you have improved your overall life by a factor of 37. 37 times. This is huge. This is called organic growth or exponential growth. All growth in nature is organic, not linear, it's organic. So here you can immediately see that at the beginning, your growth is very slow. Very hard to see that you make any progress. So it's easy to quit. But if you understand this, how this works, how organic natural growth actually works through building momentum, that's how you understand the compounding effect. I think Einstein called this the 7th or the 8th world wonder, the power of compounding. So now, if you like this, I want to extend an invitation to you. If this speaks to you, if you like my philosophy, if it resonates with you, then I'd like to invite you, if you want to go to the next level in your life and work. And if you're open to learning. If you have an open mind and you believe that you can continue to learn. If you want to accelerate your progress, rather than having to spend 12 and more years of your life like I did to figure this stuff out. If you want to make faster progress with your business and life, then I'd like to invite you to join my community for free. I just recently launched a community called the 1% Club. And the 1% Club is a community of people like you and me who want to realize their full potential, who want to live the good life, happiness and success across all areas of your life. Not one area, because how can you consider yourself successful at work if your health fails or if the relationships at home fail? It doesn't work that way. For me, success means success across all key areas of your life. Your health, relationship, financial situation, your work and contribution, and your full self-expression with your hobbies and your other interests. That's what real life success feels like to me. And to be happy and relaxed and joyful in the process, rather than having grit and pure discipline and force. I want you to do it more naturally, to do it in a more relaxed, positive way. And that's positive and that's possible, and still get much faster results. So if this speaks to you, then I'd like to invite you to sign up for my 1% Club community on School. School is a new technology, beautiful platform that is really nice to explore. Go there. You've got nothing to lose. Click the link below or scan the QR code that you see here and just check it out. It's free. You get to answer 3 questions. So there's your name, your email address, and I'm going to ask you, well, where are you now? In fact, I'm going to ask you, where do you want to go with your life? And what's holding you back? Those are the 2 questions that I'm going to ask you to respond. And let's keep it simple, but give it some reflection, because that's the first step in in accelerating your progress to the life that you aspire to living and that you deserve, and that's there for you. I want to help you to get you there faster than if you go about it alone. So click the link, scan the QR code, go check out my community, the 1% Club. I just launched it recently, and you'll find this presentation and all the other presentations that are referred to and much more in there. And there is going to be a community of like-minded individuals, and in fact, we're just starting, who all want to live their life to the fullest. Now, I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I hope I gave you some insights, and all the best. And I'm looking forward to meeting you and working with you in the 1% Club. Bye for now.